everybody. So this is the IBoard forum workshop. Basically, it's going to be a Q&A session. Just first, we're going to go over just the basics of the Key Club International Board, just to give people that don't have questions something to ask questions about, and just give you just a background information in general, because that is always good to have. I am Kaitlin Cirillo, the International Vice President.
Hi, I'm Riley Feng. I am a current Key Club International trustee, although my term ends in like 2 days or 1 day.
And my name is Hannah Povroznik. I currently serve as the international trustee for the California, Nevada, Hawaii, Keyans, Michigan, and Nebraska, Iowa districts.
Sounds awesome. Hannah, can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
So in terms of the basics, we have 33 districts, which is where actually the number of 11 trustees comes into play, because each trustee gets 3 districts they're assigned to. We have 3 districts in formation: Western Canada, the Philippines, and Taiwan. We have various non-districted regions that range everywhere from places in England all the way to Japan, and they speak all different languages, obviously. And then like we said, 11 trustees. They travel to board meetings and district conventions, but they're also there to serve their districts in any way the districts need.
So trustees travel to ICON, LeadCon, and there's also GATC, which is where the governor class goes to every single year. Usually GATC is held in the location that like ICON would have been. So if GATC was held this year, it would have been in San Francisco, because that's where ICON would have been. Trustees also go to board meetings. We go to 4 throughout the year. Obviously, some of them got cut short this year, but we go to LeadCon, which counts as an official board meeting, November board, January board, and then ICON, which obviously like that did not happen this year. And then I'll let Hannah talk a little bit about committees.
Yes, so there are various international committees. They are broken down into the executive, the global outreach, the member and district resources, international opportunities, and public relations. So these basic committees will vary slightly year to year. An international board member will serve on one of them. They can either chair or serve as a member. And then we also have member representatives who are invited to share their service and leadership and mentorship during committee meetings.
We also have task forces. Task forces are similar to committees, except they only run for a shorter period of time. For example, we had the Brand Guide Task Force, which was formed at the beginning of our terms this year. And that was a group of, I would say, like maybe 6 of the international board members that wanted to work on changing the colors or adding the colors and adding new graphics to the brand guide this year. And we worked on that for a few months, and then once we pushed that through to Kiwanis staff, we kind of like suspended the committee for a little bit because we couldn't do anything more with it. We also have the COVID-19 task force, which is kind of self-explanatory. We're in a global pandemic. We decided to form a task force to directly address those problems that came from COVID-19 within Key Club. And then we also have the competitor research task force, and that was a group of both international board members and governors this year that looked into organizations similar to Key Club or our competitor organizations. So maybe like DECA or FBLA or other high school clubs that high schoolers will be joining instead of Key Club. We wanted to research those and see how we can improve our organization to get more people to join our club and see what we're missing compared to other organizations. So those are some of the task forces that we had this year.
And then in terms of our ad hoc committees, which basically the difference between an ad hoc committee and a standing committee, ad hoc committees are just not as, ad hoc committees don't last as long. They last as long as they're needed. So basically we had the ICON committee, which was chaired by Trustee Conrad this year. And he put together all the workshop assignments, everything like that. He worked with Kiwanis on the script. Basically everything that you would see at ICON that is now virtual, he had a hand in just planning all of that. And then in terms of the elections ad hoc committee, that was obviously in the last half of the year, but that is chaired by trustees Riley and Brandon. They basically prep all of the candidates, make sure they know what's going to go on, collect all the paperwork, just answer any questions that candidates may have. And then the last task force we had this past year was the GATSI, or Governor and Administrator Training Conference Task Force. That planned that whole event. Unfortunately, this year it had to be virtual, but what GATSI is, just to give you a little bit more information, it's basically just training the governors in terms of what they can do for their districts, how to interact with international, how we can help them, best practices from, and those come from immediate past governors, because the international president and international vice president, they are not the only ones presenting. It is past governors that get invited to share their wisdom and just help spread their knowledge of when they were governors. So those are our task forces. Just to answer a question, the question and answer session window from Clarissa Ramos. Do you ever feel like there is a disconnect between international and the club level? And I know that the three of us, me, Hannah, and Riley, we all feel this differently, but there definitely is a disconnect, and we try to basically bridge that through sharing resources. Social media is a major part of that. And just always keeping in contact. We try to contact everyone from governors all the way down to like club officers and general members, just because we want everyone to know who international is, not just the people that we directly communicate with every day. So I hope that answers your question. Does anyone have any other questions in the chat or the question and answer?
How are sister districts determined and when? So sister districts are determined at the beginning of the trustee term every single year. At LeadCon, which typically occurs mid-July, the international president and the international vice president will pair a trustee with 3 districts. The way that they decide this is that they have both the trustees and the governors take a very similar survey, kind of outlining what the governor wants to see from their trustee and what the trustee wants in their districts. And then they just kind of do their best to see who would match up with who. I think the most important thing is that the trustee and the governor can work well together, because that is essential to the role of both a trustee and a governor, that they can communicate and get the information down from international to the district level, and any problems or things going on in the district level can be brought up to the international level. So making sure that they work together well is like the most important thing that the president and the vice president consider. Yeah, this year, I think everybody loved their trustee pairings. And yeah, and they do change every single year. I know that's a pretty common question.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you run for international trustee or vice president? So basically every single candidate needs to get endorsed by their district. And how you do that is, instead of running for, say, district secretary or district treasurer at your district convention, you run for endorsement for international trustee, president, or vice president. And each district can endorse up to 2 candidates for trustee, and then 1 candidate for either president or vice president. And then after you do that, you'll be contacted by the elections committee and fill out your paperwork, do everything like that behind the scenes stuff. And then when you get to international convention, there's caucusing, speeches, have the delegates, nominating conference, all of those fun things. And then it's kind of like district convention, where at the end of the event, you figure out who the new board is. Let's see. What if you can't afford travel to certain events? Well, we do not pay for the travel. So if like you had your trustee visit your district convention or one of your events in the fall this past year, Key Club International pays for
that. What were your qualifications for becoming an international trustee? I think it's different for all of the trustees. Some of us were lieutenant governors. I was a lieutenant governor. I know Hannah was a lieutenant governor. I was also a club president. So I was a club president and a lieutenant governor, and then I decided to run for trustee my senior year. But other people on the international board have been webmasters. We've had a few editors, and it's mainly, I would say it's mainly lieutenant governors that run for trustee, especially since the role of a lieutenant governor is to be a liaison between the district and the divisional level. and the role of a trustee is to be a liaison between the international and the district level. So the roles are pretty similar in those aspects.
Let's see, another question. How can members get to serve on an international committee? So at some point in the beginning of the next term, which starts actually in a few days, the next president and vice president will work with the committee chairs to develop an application to be a member representative. And member representatives can be anyone at the club or district level except for district executives. So it gives those people a chance to get to know what international is like and to serve on the committee of their choosing. And then just look out for that. It should be on the website, most likely in August, but of course things vary. So just look out for that on the website and in like the newsletter if you're subscribed to that. So that should be coming out soon, and it's pretty much a run-of-the-mill application. It does ask if you speak multiple languages because, for example, like the Global Outreach Committee, they work with people all over the world. So if you speak a certain language, then you might be more likely to get the position. But no matter what, it's an awesome opportunity. So.
All three of you, have you enjoyed your time on the international board?
Absolutely. I mean, I speak for myself, but I'm sure I could speak for everybody when I say we have all loved every second of the last 12 months. It's definitely bittersweet that our terms are ending actually tomorrow night. We cannot wait to see what the next International Council will accomplish, but it's sad. Us retiring also means it's the end of our Key Club journeys. It's been 4 years.
Yes, I second that. I loved every second of my term, and I think running for this position was like definitely one of the most impactful decisions I've made in high school. I think this past year has shaped me a lot as a person and has given me so many new experiences that I wouldn't have had. Like, I wouldn't have been able to travel the country, see all these different districts of Key Club and how they function and help district board members. And I wouldn't have been able to meet some of the most like amazing people. The I Council and district board members and just everyone I've met through Key Club. They're just amazing people, and the Key Club community is just, it's like a second family to me. So I have loved my time as an international trustee.
I agree. The international board has been a unique experience to say the least. It pushes you out of your comfort zone. It inspires you to foster different ideals and viewpoints. It's truly been a journey that I have cherished.
What was your deciding factor or factors for running for international versus another position? I would say that I really liked being a lieutenant governor. I liked having the position of being both a leader, but also a voice for others and also like a resource. So I think that that's something that I really thrived in because like I was just really good at like creating resources and streamlining information and communicating with others. And that's something that I enjoyed doing. And I wanted to continue doing that, but I felt that I could do it on a bigger scale. So that's why I decided to run for international trustee.
In terms of what happened with me, I was a lieutenant governor for New Jersey, and then I ran for district treasurer. And then I really loved both positions, but I loved the aspect of helping the district board members help other people and help their club officers. So instead of running for trustee, I ran for international vice president. So I could be an exec, but I could still be the person that people go to for questions, be the one delegating responsibilities, stepping back, looking at the bigger picture. I just really like those aspects of treasurer, and so I was able to do that as well as vice president.
My journey was along the same lines as theirs. I began as a club treasurer my sophomore year of high school. I enjoyed being exposed to the opportunities that it did allow me and the Key Club family that steadily grew. Afterward, I ran for lieutenant governor and served on the district for a year for the West Virginia district. Cherished every minute of it, enjoyed the lessons, the challenges, the engagement of the officers, and I chose trustee would be a position that was comparable to my journey as lieutenant governor, which I truly enjoyed. So after that, I sought that position.
Hannah, while you're talking, somebody wants to know what being a treasurer was like.
On On the club level, we had our various duties, but our club was very much focused on unity, combined work, and group effort. So while we did have the tasks such as dues collections, and if we did t-shirt fundraisers of that sort, we were responsible for keeping tabs on all that information. But otherwise, we were just like another officer. We were there to support the members, we were there to guide, we were there to support and lead at the meetings if need be, and design service projects of our own.
Just to answer another question, how much of our resources are translated into more languages for international clubs? So I was chair of the Global Outreach Committee this past year, and we translated all of our newsletters because we sent monthly newsletters to our non-districted regions. So we translated them into, I don't remember how many languages, but it was Spanish, French, Japanese, Korean, Mandarin, Italian. I feel like I'm forgetting one, but we translated our newsletters, and then we also translated things such as like the basics, or what I call the basics, our motto, our core values, certain parts of the guidebook. We translated, we came up with a list of fundraising and service project ideas that obviously are not just for non-districted regions. I know there are many areas in the United States that speak different languages, so those are free for them to use as well. Everything from service project ideas to ways to increase membership. And then we're also in the process of establishing, well, it's pretty much already established. Now we just have to get more resources translated. Having Kiwanis International help us with that, especially because our terms are ending. So we will be translating things such as the sponsorship toolkit, which will allow everyone to, not just people that speak English, everyone to know tips for fundraising, because fundraising can be used to help offset the cost of dues or the cost of just like attendance at events, which obviously once you attend an event, that is a cause to increase leadership and to increase interest in membership. So if any of you would like some resources, we will give out our contact information, and we can just send them to you. Let's see, there's one more in the Q&A window. So what are some things the international board to impact general members? So our social media campaigns is the first thing that comes to mind. Everything from just with the nursing homes and with International Convention in general, or Summer Leadership Conference, sorry. But also the fact that we have trustees visit our district conventions and fall rallies. Even the fall rallies do have different names in all different districts, the fall events. So people get to see what international is, see what international is like, be able to communicate with people at all levels of Key Club. And I think that being a club member, being exposed to all the different levels of this international organization is extremely beneficial. And that's how you get wonderful leaders at all levels. But we also just share resources in general. That's why we have that whole resources tab on the website, because that's for anyone and everyone to utilize. But in general, just communication and social media is the #1 way we reach general members.
I was on mute. What year of high school do you run for international board? Well, me, Hannah, and Kaitlin are seniors in high school, and I mean, we just graduated, but we had 3 juniors on the international board this year, so most people run at the end of their junior year. I would say the majority of international boards are seniors, and a handful of people usually run at the end of their sophomore year. I think it just depends like where you are in your Key Club journey. I wasn't a lieutenant governor until my junior year of high school, so it wouldn't make sense for me to run for international trustee any earlier than that. But some of the juniors on our board were lieutenant governors as sophomores or even as a freshman. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What made you guys want to run? So we've touched on this a little bit, but we'll all touch on why we wanted to run. For me, I loved being a lieutenant governor, and I loved being district treasurer. And I wanted to join the international board to have more of a voice and to communicate more with Kiwanis counterparts on Kiwanis staff, just to make more resources and have a greater impact on more districts than just the New Jersey district. And I also love the fact that I could get more of an opportunity to see how other districts function, so I could share ideas and establish like a system to, or just establish communication between districts to help them help each other, because that is honestly one great thing of why trustees have more than one district. They facilitate just the spread of knowledge and the sharing of information between districts that greatly enhances their ability to do service.
For me, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I really liked being a lieutenant governor, so I thought that I could expand on that by being an international trustee. And also, I saw it as an opportunity that I really just wouldn't have again. I think that being an international trustee entails so many new experiences. You get to see how so many different districts function, and you also have such an impact. And it's really great to see like how many people you can reach and how much you can do with like the resources that you send out, the connections that you make, the friendships that you're fostering between not only your districts, but the entire International Council and Key Clubs as a whole. And so I think knowing that if I ran for international trustee, then my impact would expand and it would give me a ton of new opportunities. That was a huge thing for me. And I just felt that it was such like an unforeseen opportunity that I would not like, didn't want to pass it up.
I believe there's some moments in life where you're called to do something, but you might not always know why initially. And for myself, that was very much my experience with running for international. I was 14, I was young for my grade, and I first attended my district convention. I went with a local group of Key Clubbers from my school, and the Key Club president there at the time was an absolute inspiration. From the first time I met her, I valued her spark, her light, her passion to do the right thing, even though that was not always popular at the time. And I found myself during a service project talking to her, and she had initially wanted to run for international trustee. She would actually be the first of West Virginia to do so. And because of family issues, unfortunately, it didn't yield her the opportunity to do so. And from that moment, I couldn't tell you why, but I knew I wanted to run. And I knew I saw myself in that position one day. So every opportunity after that point, it was a time of working toward becoming a part of this organization from the international level. So every service project, every position, every opportunity was just a stepping stone to get to this point. And while I valued every opportunity I had and I cherished every moment, this was the point that I wanted to be at, inspiring people on the international realm. That's what got me passionate. So from there, I continued my leadership journey. I ran for district, and when I reached international, I walked into the first board meeting and I knew that that was the place I belonged.
Anyone have any more questions? Let's see. What was the hardest thing about being on international? Well, trying to work with so many different people. It all depends on the position, but for vice president, you have so many different responsibilities that focusing on certain obstacles at a certain time, like the pledge change or just dealing with COVID-19, helping your members through so many things while you have other responsibilities. It's definitely challenging to balance, but being a past LTG and a past treasurer, it definitely gave me the experience to know how to prioritize and know how to manage my time well. So just the timing of everything and being a high school student, applying to college, all of that happened during my term. So that would probably be the hardest part of international for me. But I mean, like I said, it's all worth it. I've loved the past 12 seconds, every second of the past 12 months. Sorry, everybody.
I would agree with Kaitlin. I'd say that there is always plenty of obstacles that you're going through throughout the entire year, and those change so often. But one thing that's ongoing and it's always going to be a struggle is just the time management. I think that traveling is very like taxing, and taking like a weekend trip to a district and then like balancing your homework, balancing your college applications, and like trying to sleep at the same time. It's really hard, but that nevertheless, it's definitely worth it. I'm so glad that I had this position. But definitely just like having to like travel to places and just be gone from school and just missing like that time in like school and then just trying to balance like stuff was hard for me, especially at the beginning of the school year when I had college applications. I remember I had one district board visit to New England, and it was the same weekend that like early applications were due for college. So that was stressful, but it all worked out. It's all good. It was totally worth it.
Like they said, in any leadership organization, you're going to come upon many challenges, and I know they've named many of them. For myself, those included, but also one was learning how to say goodbye. In this position, we're challenged to meet and connect with various different people in a very short amount of time. Oftentimes, we become the closest friends to people we might have spent a week's time with. And while that can be a beautiful experience, it's also one that's emotionally taxing as well. Learning how that you might not get to see these people again. This might be the last time you perform a service project together. You have those late night conversations with one of your closest governors, or you speak in front of this people that you've grown so close to meet. So moving on from those connections while still learning when there's an opportunity to build them and connect with those people over FaceTime and group chats and text messages has probably been one of the most challenging experiences I've had.
So in terms of just answering more questions, I feel like every time Hannah speaks, it's just like everyone just stops and goes silent. And I love Hannah's answers for everything. Just to answer another question, let's see, going forward for rising seniors, what positions do we still have the opportunity to apply and or run for? Are there any that would make sense for someone who just ended their term as a vice president for their school's Key Club? So if you're looking to run for a position right now, you can become a member representative on one of the committees. You can also just be a club officer. I know a lot of clubs have elections in the fall. In terms of the district level or international, if you're a rising senior, unfortunately, you would have had to declare candidacy at your past district convention. Same thing for district positions, but I know that there are places like districts that have lieutenant governor spots that are open. No one is currently in those positions. So if you reach out to your district and if they have a spot open and you'd like to apply for it, I'm sure they'd be willing to talk to you. But like I said, it does vary by district. So it all depends on that. But yeah, member representative is going to come out later this summer.
Will your Key Club experience follow you in college? Yes, I really hope it does. Not only because of the things that I've learned in Key Club, I think that this organization has truly shaped me into who I am today. And I think that so many of the experiences that I've had in Key Club are just fundamental to who I am as a person. But I also hope that I can continue serving my home schools and communities in college. My college does have a Circle K, so I'll definitely be joining that. And I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely be joining Circle K as well. I would love to go up to the district level again, or maybe even international, just because I've loved my positions in Key Club, and having a similar journey in Circle K would just be cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. I don't know. That's just the phrase I say. I know it's not the one that everyone else uses.
My service journey will continue as well. I was invited to serve as my college's first Circle K president. So I will be doing that this coming year and continuing. I don't know if any of you have been in the Food and Security Forum, but continuing the project Boxing Up to Give Thanks at the local college.
Fantastic. In terms of the question answer sessions, we have 3 questions right now. So if you guys want to ask more questions, go for it. What are some things LTGs can do to help inform clubs of what International does? So you can introduce them to your International trustee. They can attend like your fall event and meet them there, or you can introduce them virtually through newsletters, or you can invite them on a call and just have like an IBoard forum like this, but just with less people. So each club member or whoever it may be on the call can ask more questions, see what International does, and maybe even run for that position in the future. But it really depends on the International officer in general. If you have a trustee that you absolutely love, or if you want to get the president or vice president to send their letter of introduction to you, by all means, ask them for it. So there are a lot of ways you can go about that. And if you just be on the lookout for letters of introduction in general, because those will come out July and August.
Hunter Newton says, do districts change every year? Yes, they change every year. In Circle K, for their international trustees, they stay the same, but they change for us.
What do you think are some qualities of an IBoard member? So in general, you have to, like we said, you have to be able to manage your time, being able to work with many different kinds of people, because if you are an international trustee, you are working with your 3 districts, or if you're president or vice president, you are working with all the different district governors. So being able to work with many different types of people, being able to work with people of all ages. We work with everyone from Kiwanians to Key Clubbers, Circle K members, pretty much everyone in the Kiwanis family. And you also just have to be open-minded. I know going from the district level to the international level, it is very different. Just so if you'd like to know more about that, feel free to ask questions about it. But you definitely have to be open to change, and you have to be open to new experiences, because with travel and just with meeting so many different people, there's so many new things you can learn, and so many ways you can help bring back ideas and help your own district. So being open-minded and flexible are definitely necessary and beneficial, but just being dedicated to Key Club in general is the most important thing. We're all here for a reason, but IBoard members need to stay dedicated to their position. Let's see. What is a member representative? So I know we touched on this earlier. Member representatives are people that apply to be on the international committees. They can include anyone at the district or club level, but they do not include district executives, and that's pretty much just to give everyone else a chance to have contact with the international board and have contact with the international council, be able to just be on the committees, help serve international. So they do anything that a normal committee member would do. They serve with the chair and with the other trustees on the committee. So for example, if you're on the Global Outreach Committee, you would be assigned non-districted regions or districts information like the other committee members.
Do you have any advice for a current international board candidate? I remember my time running for trustee, like vividly. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done, and I think most of the people on the international board can agree with that, especially since it was in person last year, and people are brutal. But I would say that you just need to be confident in yourself. I was like so nervous when I was running for trustee, and I don't think that helped me. I just had this like irrational fear that every single person at Icon would literally hate me, which is just not true. There's always going to be people that see the best in your platform, and they're going to see your potential as a candidate. And you need to remember that people see that in you. And there's people out there that want you to be an international trustee. And you need to, just like be confident in that. Be confident in yourself, know your platform like the back of your hand, and be confident in what you want to do as an international trustee. Like have a vision of what you're going to do and try to portray that to the people that are asking you questions or the voting members this year. That's just my advice. I don't know if Kaitlin and Hannah want to say anything.
No, I agree with everything you said. You have to be confident in your abilities. You're here for a reason. You were endorsed by your district. Never forget that. And just be yourself. Don't be who you think people want a trustee to be. You, like I said, you're here for a reason. Just believe in that, and that'll get you far. And also, know your platform like the back of your hand. Super important.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In terms of, I know there are a few more questions about the applications for member representative. We're getting a lot of questions for member representative information. Where will it be? It will be online. You can get it from your trustee. Basically, any like Key Club platform, they will most likely be on social media as well, the link to apply. And then what was the process to be chosen. So you basically you apply like normal, just that application, Google form, form stack, whatever it may be. All of the results end up in a Google spreadsheet, and each committee chair works with their committee members, who at this point are only trustees, to choose who they would prefer to be on their committee. And then you will be notified whether or not you got the position, and that's about it. It's a very simple process, but it does take a bit of time because we usually get hundreds and hundreds of applications, because it is relatively new. So a lot of people do want to be in it. I think this coming year will be the 3rd year for member representatives. I hope that answers your questions for member representatives, everyone that asked.
I'm not sure if this was asked already, but what made you 3 girls join Key Club? What drove you to become a Key Clubber? Well, I would say a lot of people will agree with me when they say that when they joined Key Club, they had no idea just how important and impactful it was going to be. When I joined Key Club as a freshman, I think it was just because it's a very big club at my school. Our club has about 400 members, so a lot of people join the club. So I just found myself joining the club because a lot of my friends were in it. I was like, oh, service, volunteering, that seems super fun. And it ended up just being something that I fell in love with, and I realized that I wanted to continue doing every single year of high school and become more and more involved in. But when I joined, I had no idea I was going to be an international trustee.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that 100%. I knew I wanted to join a service club, and Key Club was the largest club in my school. So I figured, why not join that? I knew my cousin was in Key Club at a different school, and she absolutely loved it. She was actually running for lieutenant governor that year, so I knew if she liked it, we were very similar. It would be a great place for me. But I had no idea that I would end up on the international board. I just joined to do service, but that is actually why I ran. I wanted to do service and help people in my community.
I initially began Key Club because I desired an outlet for community service. While there were many to choose from, the one that specifically drew me to this organization were the people. Perhaps your high schools are similar, but during our opening session or opening day, we would have this presentation where local clubs from the school would present just a brief presentation about an overview of their values and their standards and what their goal strives to achieve each year. So when I heard Key Club's presentation, what struck me as inviting to their organization was the persona of the people. They stood for kindness and integrity and support, and they valued me for simply being me, not because of grades, not because of standards, for simply being me. And I liked feeling known and wholesome in a place where I knew I could thrive because people were there because they truly cared about you. So that's what drew me to that organization.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree with Hannah. That's why I stayed in the organization. The people, I made my best friends. And then just because we have 5 minutes left, so we're just getting into the next 2 questions. So any tips on how to improve public speaking? Try your best to be as confident as possible. You are on stage, everyone's looking at you, and I know it's very easy to get freaked out as someone who was so shy freshman year, because Key Club was my outlet for public speaking, and I refused to not do anything just because I had to speak publicly. Just be confident. If you know there are certain things that help you, maybe looking at a friend or whatever it may be. For me, I mainly looked at my friends in the audience, or just being confident in general. Fake it till you make it. It's like the thing I used to live by. If you're not confident in yourself, fake it till you make it. Just speak clearly, speak slowly, make sure everyone can understand you. It's very important for everyone to hear you. So speak loudly, but also don't scream at them. It really all depends. If you have a microphone, don't scream into it. I know a lot of people think that it makes it better. It doesn't. But just the main thing is just to be confident in yourself. Know what you're saying. Know why you're there. Especially if you're a candidate for anything, if you're running for a position, if you got endorsed by your district or whatever it may be, people want you in the position. Like Riley said, there are always people rooting for you, so don't forget that. That's my advice.
For me, I think I developed my public speaking skills a lot my junior year of high school when I was in this one organization called Distinguished Young Women. We had to do interviews and stuff like that, where a lot of it was just public speaking. And I think that one thing that I really, really focused on was taking the word like, and but out of my speech. And even though it's definitely still prominent, and I know I say it all the time, once you develop a conscious awareness of when you're saying those words, your public speaking will improve like astronomically. Oh my God, I just said the word like. See, you still say it. It never goes away, but when you focus on it more, your public speaking just gets a lot better. Just cutting out those filler words really helped me a lot.
I would say confidence is an imperative component to success. I recently watched a TED Talk, and there was this one speaker on there, and she talked about the power of confidence. And while we might not always feel confident on the inside, if we portray on the outside as if we are, not only will our confidence continue to increase steadily, but our outward appearance will also inspire and make others feel more confident in our abilities and our capabilities, and that will yield us more success.
I think that is all the time we have, but I noticed that, oh yeah, let me send my contact info in the chat and you guys can screenshot that and text or email any one of us if you want. I am always open to answering your questions.
Mm-hmm. And that same goes for the questions we have in the Q&A. Just block, ask us those questions, and we will absolutely respond later on. If you come up with any questions, that's what we're here for. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. Hope you liked it.
Yeah, hope it was helpful.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.